Right here, I've got a little picture to show you. You see this graph? So this top one, what this is showing, these are both showing heart rate variabilities. I'll explain that in a minute, but you can tell just by looking, that one is not so healthy. This one would be healthier. It just looks it, right? So what you're looking at is the coherence of the variability of heart rate. So let me explain that to you. So when your heart is beating, I know it's beating bump, ba bump, da thump, da thump, da thump. It's not beating exactly. Like if you were to take your pulse and you said 60 beats a minute, it's not beating exactly rhythmically the same like a metronome. No, it goes a little bit quicker, a little bit slower, a little bit. It varies. That's a healthy heart. You want your heart rate to be varying a little quicker, a little slower, because it's prepared for in case you're going to go into action. If it was just steady, and you had to quickly get up and run, you wouldn't be able to do it. So your heart rate varies a little quicker, a little slower. Now, what you're looking at in this picture right here is this is a heart rate that's varying, but it's like quick, slow, quick, 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 slow, quick, 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 slow, quick, quick, quick. It's not coherent, right? This one right here is a heart rate that's going quicker, slower, quicker, slower, quicker, slower. This is a healthier variability. So what HeartMath, this organization, was looking at is what affects heart rate variability, because when the heart is not coherent, when its variability is not coherent, they discovered so many things about that. One of the things they discovered is that when the heart is in low coherence, or it's jagged, when it's all jaggedy, let me show you, I have to look for myself first. Okay, this one right here. These are PET scans of the brain. So this one is a coherent brain, the coherent heart rate variability. This one is linked to not coherent heart rate variability. So what does that mean? Let's take a look. We're looking at the front of the brain, the back of the brain. The red is activity in the brain. So the more activity is where it's redder. So now let's reorient again. The front of the brain on this one has more activity. The top of the brain, the neocortex, this is where we have higher reasoning, higher functioning. Literally, we rise above. Metaphorically, we can rise above and take the broader view. We can rise above the fray. We can think with new possibilities. When we are here, the red is in the back of the brain, which is the limbic brain. That's the same brain that a snake has, or a lizard. And nothing wrong with it. We need that. This is our instincts. This is where you've learned this before, the F's. Fight, flee, or freeze. Which, if you stay with me in all my teachings, you'll see that fight, flee, or freeze directly relates to the way Ayurveda sees our stress responses. Fight, flee, freeze, right? So, but there are more F's. Actually, there are 5 F's. When I was in my graduate program, I learned the 5 F's. It's fight, flee, freeze, feed, or fornicate. The 5 F's. Those are our responses. This is what you're stuck with. That's the type of thinking that the limbic brain can do. We need that thinking, but don't you imagine that in your life you really want to be engaging your neocortex, this frontal lobes, your ability to rise above the situation. Well, HeartMath shows that when your heart, let's go back to it, just I want you to understand it, when you have coherent variability is directly correlated with high functioning. The brain lights up in the neocortex. When you have low coherence, that is directly related to the limbic brain lighting up. Isn't that amazing? They can measure that. So it makes you want to learn how to have coherent heart variability, doesn't it? But I want to show you something else that to me is all so fascinating. I hope you like this part too. So what these researchers at HeartMath were able to do is they have the technology to measure the electromagnetic field that your heart emits. Now you know your heart has electricity in it because EKG, electrocardiogram. There's electricity that that sparks the heart to beat. There's electricity in the brain, EEG, electroencephalogram. Guess what they discovered? They could measure the electrical magnetic field that the heart is emitting up to 8 to 10 feet away from the heart. And they discovered that the magnetic field that the heart emits is 5,000 times stronger than the one the brain emits. So just take that in for a minute. Because if function follows form, the form of our electromagnetic field shows us that the heart is more powerful. And guess what else? There are more afferent nerve pathways, meaning from the heart to the brain, than there are from the brain to the heart. Meaning the heart is sending more signals to the brain than the brain is to the heart. Just another indication that our heart is super important. And as you can tell from the graphs I just showed you, a coherent heart rate variability is linked to higher functioning of the brain. So we might want to be paying attention to that. Now, that electromagnetic field, just to give you an idea, this is sort of what it looks like. It would look like this if you could draw it. And the researchers at HeartMath, recently I heard them speaking, and they said, we said 8 to 10 feet away from the heart, but that's as far as the machines could show. So perhaps it goes even farther. But the bottom line is that you are basically walking around radiating this kind of energy. It's as though your heart is broadcasting what you're thinking and feeling in terms of electricity. And since everybody's heart is doing that, we kind of look like this. We interlock with each other. Do you see that? We have our energy field interfaces with other people's energies fields. And the reason that I want to bring all this up is because what I'm going to suggest is that you do some daily practices. And some people think, well, I don't have time, or that's selfish for me to spend this much time on myself. And I'm here to say that the science shows that when you bring yourself into coherence, you are emitting an energetic field that will, in fact, impact other people. And so if you want to see more peace in the world, this is one way. You become peace, and then you radiate that peace, and your electromagnetic field can, in fact, impact others. Because we know that, for instance, we can see how birds start flocking and they start flapping together, or clocks, pendulum clocks swinging a certain way. They start influencing each other. So we can influence each other that way. That's what I'm suggesting. But we start with ourselves. So I'm going to teach you a quick one. So HeartMath has shown, they've looked at thousands of subjects, and they've discovered that the most potent thought to insert into your mind to bring your heart into coherence is a thought of appreciation. Now, I have a biofeedback device. I got a biofeedback device from them in 1990. I can't remember when it was. I think it was like 96. And so I would hook myself up and also clients up, and I would take it on the road when I did speeches. I looked at hundreds of people and watched what their thought process was and how they could bring themselves into coherence. What I discovered was that longtime meditators weren't necessarily in coherence. And that's interesting to me. That's just the way it is. But what would work is if they would focus on something for which they had great appreciation. And in my own research, I noticed that it really helped if it was not a person. Because appreciation is pure loving. Appreciation really is unconditional love. You're just appreciating. You're not wanting anything back from it. So I could be appreciating, I hope you're appreciating the beautiful trees behind me. Every time I look out the windows, I appreciate that green, that beautiful green. If you focus on that green and simply appreciate the green, slow your breath down. So I'm teaching you the steps now. You breathe 4 counts in, hold 4 counts, 4 counts out. Focus in the area of your heart and imagine that the breath is coming in and out from your heart. So instead of thinking about your brain or your nose breathing, imagine your heart breathing. So it goes like this. You breathe in for 4 counts. Imagine the heart is breathing in. Hold for 4 counts and exhale for 4 counts. once you've done that breath, you focus on something for which you have great appreciation. So, like I said, you could be looking at the green behind me. It's so beautiful. Or anything. The simpler, the better. We tend to really overcomplicate this and try to get super uber spiritual or think grand ideas about what we appreciate. Just appreciate something simple that you truly appreciate. Keep appreciating it, and then feel the feeling that it gives you. And as you feel the feeling of appreciation, breathing into your heart, let that feeling flow through your whole body. That's it. Now, I know it sounds simple, and I know our culture is addicted to complexity. And so if it's not complex, or if it doesn't cost a lot of money, we think maybe it's not worth anything. I'm here to tell you this works. And if you really want to see it work, I just want to show you Heart Math. I'm not selling Heart Math equipment or anything, but I do love what they do. They have apps. So this is an app for the iPad, and the way it works is you hook up a little device like this. You hook it in there, you put it on your ear, you clip it on your ear. This will measure my heart rate, and I was doing one earlier. Oh, see, I just did one beforehand. So I was in the green. So when you get your heart rate and coherence, you're in the green. And it'll show you, oops, you're slipping into the blue, a little less coherent. You're slipping into the red, you're not coherent. And you can start witnessing yourself. This has been really powerful for me to have. I know I mentioned to you yesterday in day one that grounded, joyful energy doesn't mean you don't have stress in your life. Of course we have stress. And I told you about a big one I had in 1990, and 4 years ago I experienced a really devastating loss. And I will say I was grieving, full-on grieving, for 2 years, and maybe 3. And in those years, I used this device all the time. And I discovered that my heart could be broken and I could be in coherence at the same time. Now that might be shocking, but the truth is, what I discovered in my own body is that I could be feeling brokenhearted, the reality of something that hurt, and find something to appreciate at the same time. Slow my breath down, find something to appreciate. There is always something to appreciate. And even in the midst of heartbreak, I was able to find coherence. And I really believe I needed to do that because even in the midst of heartbreak, I was a single mom and I wanted to get my son graduated from high school, and I got him to Olympic trials, which was a really big deal, and it required 100% of my focus. So if you've ever had something like this, I know you have, because it's humanity and we experience difficult things. Doesn't mean you won't. It doesn't mean you won't have heartbreak or pain or even illness. But in the process, you can in fact focus on something you appreciate, slow your breath down, and bring your heart into coherence. So that's just one. This is called a quick coherence technique, and you can do it at any time. You simply, I'm going to go over the steps again, and in the guidebook, I'll send you the guidebook. I will write them all out so that it's easy for you to remember. But you slow your breath down, you imagine breathing in and out of your heart, you find something you appreciate, and you focus on it. 3 to 5 minutes twice a day has been shown to statistically improve brain function, improve immune function, improve digestion, even skin health. It's worth it. So that's what Heart Math teaches us. I want to take it a step further because we live in a real life, and in fact, we sometimes need a little bit more. So I learned this from Doris Cohen. I'll put her in the guidebook as well, Cohen. And Doris Cohen is a psychotherapist. Gosh, she's practiced, I think, for almost 40 years. And I worked with Doris many times, and she taught me that on top of understanding how the limbic brain gets activated when we're stressed, it also is correlated to times in our life when we were younger. And the way Doris explains it is, as soon as something stressful happens, there's a younger part of you that's unhealed that gets triggered. And that younger you takes over your brain. And now your brain is being run by a 4-year-old or a 7-year-old. And you look like a grown woman, but actually you're being run by a very young version of yourself. So Doris has a process that I add on to this quick coherence. And so let me just give you an example. It would go like this. You're out to lunch with someone and they mentioned something that just triggers you. Happens all the time. Soon as you notice it, and how do you notice it? Well, you notice it because you feel disturbed. You feel constricted. You suddenly feel nervous. You feel embarrassed. You start going inward. That's how I feel it anyway. So as soon as you notice that you've been triggered, imagine in front of you a stop sign, a red stop sign. Take that breath. 4 counts in. That breath is magic because until you take that breath, what's happening is your sympathetic nervous system has been stimulated. Soon as you take that breath in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, it starts to balance your nervous system activity and your parasympathetic nervous system begins to come on board, which helps calm you down. So something happens, and the thing is, you could be in the middle of a crazy restaurant, or you could be at a parent-teacher meeting and something is going on that's got you really worked up, or you could be in the middle of a confrontation with someone and doing this. You're just, in your mind, you see the sign stop. You slow your breath down, 4 counts in, hold it, 4 counts, out 4 counts. Now, adding on Doris's technique, which she calls the magic garden, what you do then is, you instantly in your mind ask yourself, pick a number between 1 and 10. Boom. And I would say 7. Then you imagine yourself going into a magic garden, and there is your little self at that age. You walk in as your age, and there is your little self at that age. Your job in this moment is to soothe that smaller version of you. And what happens to me many times, if I've really been triggered, my little 7-year-old is scared, doesn't even want to come out from behind the trees. And so I go in as the real me, and I say, come here. And I might hold them for a minute, and I might brush her hair, move it out of her face, and say, you're fine. Everything is fine. Your only job with your inner child right now is to reassure them that they're safe, that you love them, and all is well. Don't take too long in there. You don't stay for a long time. You imagine yourself leaving the garden. You come back, take that breath in, 4 counts in, hold 4 counts, exhale 4 counts. And inside of your head, you say to yourself, I'm Deb Kern. Today is May the whatever, 2018. I'm in Austin, Texas. I'm in my 50s. I'm a 50-something-year-old. And it kind of brings you back to reality like, oh, right. What happens is that inner child had grabbed hold of your brain and was operating you from a very small self. A little girl who had no power, couldn't drive a car, didn't have her own checking account, couldn't make decisions for herself, and that's how you were feeling. Soon as you do this activity, it brings you right back into your full brain and you can operate in the here and now. So I will write this whole magic garden exercise out for you, and I'll put it in the guidebook because that exercise has been so helpful. The way Doris teaches to use it is, you can use it in the moment, as I just described, and, it's both, and, not either or, but it's and. You can take yourself on a 40-day journey because typically there's some patterns that we have all the time. So when you say, what's a number between 1 and 10, while you're watching right now, just pick that number, whatever it is. That's your number. And I would give you the assignment for the next 40 days when you're brushing your teeth, because you know you're going to do it at least once a day, hopefully twice. When you're brushing your teeth, take the breath in, 4 counts, hold 4 counts, let it out. As you're brushing your teeth, imagine yourself going into this beautiful garden, magical garden, flowers and fruit-bearing trees and a body of water that's still, beautiful garden. You go into the garden, there she or he is at that age. You, while you're brushing your teeth, you greet them, you tell them, I love you, you're safe here, everything is fine. You leave them, you come back, you're still brushing your teeth, look yourself in the eye in the mirror and say, oh, there I am, say your name, I am how old you are, I'm in what city you're in, the date, really orient yourself to the present time, and then look yourself in the eye and say, and I love you. That's it. It will change your day So these two practices from your heart, getting your heart into coherence, will bring your brain into coherence. And when your heart and brain are in coherence, your entire life will work better, and everyone around you will experience the radiance of this energy.